Okay, in this video, well, a lot of you don't know that I used to be an avid radio control racer. I love my radio control cars. So now I'm going to show you the car that actually changed the whole industry right here. Okay, here's the box it came in. Now let me tell you the story how this came into my possession. Okay, there's the car. All right, so back in the 80s, radio control off-road tracking, driving, racing was pretty much dominated by a company called Associated with their RC10s. And then, I actually used to race RC10s. They had companies like Kyosho and Tamiya. They were trying to get into the market too, but they were doing the same thing basically that our Associated was doing. They were making these aluminum frame cars that were kind of simple, and you had to spend a bunch of damn money, you know, be competitive with. Okay. Now in 1987, I went to my hobby shop store where I used to go to all the time, and he pulled out this box right here, and he says, "You got to see this car. This is amazing." Well, evidently, the company called Team Losi, they literally redesigned the RC cars and changed the way they were built from there on out. So I'm going to show you, this is an original RC10, right? Or I'm sorry, a Losi JRX2, okay? Now, one of the main features you'll notice on this car is that the carbon fiber chassis. See, the aluminum chassis, they would bend. You couldn't fix them. You had to replace them. The screws would strip out and shit and stuff. And so what Losi did was they built it with a carbon fiber chassis. Okay? Takes a lot of lickings, keeps on stickings. Okay. There was another major thing they did, and that was this transmission right here. Okay, well, if you can see this cover right here, let me put this in my mouth. If you pull this cover off, you'll see a little tie down right there, right? There's actually an adjustment for a slipper clutch. Now that's what all the manufacturers did back in the time, was they used a slipper clutch on the main gear. You're riding off the engine. And it kind of gave you limited access to how your differential worked. So what Losi did was they built an internal differential. Now I'm going to show you, this is a bigger one out of an older car, okay? I'm going to show you how this differential works, okay? If you notice, as I turn this one this way, that other axle turns the other way, okay? That's a regular running differential, okay? And back in the day, what they used to do was use dog bones. That's what they call a dog bone. Those were the axles in the cars. Those were the dog bones. And what they would do was they would make these cups, and they put a spring in them. It's kind of hard to talk with that damn thing in my mouth. Anyway, they would put a spring in it. you put some tension on it, and then you would stick the dog bone in the cup. And as you can see, it has limited mobility. It would run into the shaft, all right? And so what would happen, look, see there? The damn spring popped out. So what would happen a lot of times when you were racing is that dog bone would either bend, distort, or it would pop out of the rear end. And then your car was dead. Well, Losi did something else. If you look right down in here, I don't know if you can see this. This is there's no dog bone. You see that? You see how that there's two-piece shaft slides in and out of each other, right? Yeah, there's no binding. You don't need no springs or anything. No matter how the high or low the car is going, yeah, the axle, well, it's like the newer vehicles, like the Corvette, when they started doing like the split axle rear ends. So that was a huge improvement right there. Now, here's another thing. I showed you this differential right here. You notice how it just spins one way or the other. You can't really do anything with it. Well, they built a smaller one. They put it inside this little bitty transmission. And what you can do is, all you got to do is pull out this little rubber cap. See that little hole? A little hole right there? Yep. Stick an Allen wrench in there, and you can literally adjust the differential from anything from a loose differential to Positrack. Okay? And then they added the slipper clutch on the outside. So you had total control over your transmission, your wheels and stuff. And then here's another thing that's cool as hell. The 4-link suspension. They put a 4-link suspension on here, right? And then a link suspension to each wheel, right? So this car could, I mean, it literally could, no matter how you turned it, what you did with it, it stayed on the road. My servo saver's gone. And then there's the front suspension. Oh my gosh. Look at the adjustments you could do with the turnbuckles and stuff. And then there's the shocks. Okay. These shocks, you can actually adjust the spring tension on the shocks with these little collars. Now here's another cool thing, is you can get different springs and different tensions. Okay. And not only that, these shocks are oil filled. Okay. And you can actually buy different size pistons with different size holes in them, and you could actually fill them up with different viscosities of oils. So you could get the exact spring and the exact shock absorbing that you wanted to go with it. I mean, this thing was like miles ahead of everybody else, what they were doing at the time. Really is. What's kind of funny about this one is